Hello, my name is Video Games, and welcome to my drama life. Before I was born, my father had a history of crime and gambling. He told me he started out as a kid who was literally pushed around. The kids would call him names like Baffleball and shook the whole cabin to try to score points. Harry Williams, his first mentor, decided to give him a payout system. This system got him in prison because it was saw as a form of gambling. During his sentence, Gothab helped my father appeal and prove his legitimacy. He gave my father flippers, which demonstrated to the court that he acquired skill and stopped his childhood beliefs from ever pushing him around again. I was born on February 14, 1962 in Cameron, Massachusetts on the PDP-1. My father was pinball, and to this day I identified who my mother was. When I was born, I was on Space Wars, but throughout my life I have adopted hundreds of names and had multiple mentors that have shaped me into this man John today. Because of my father's influence, I found my first mentor. His name is Magnavox. He created the Odyssey and attempted to bring me to every family's home. They made me into Pong. This mentor did not have much success, and I came across another mentor named Atari. I didn't improve due to drug abuse, but they laid the foundation to make me successful. They copied Pong, but instead of being on television, they put me in an arcade game. This allowed me to make my mark on the corner business. They then released Home Pong and sold it to Sears. With the release of Home Pong, Fairchild and Instruments released Channel F, which introduced the use of cartridges to the industry and changed it permanently. After Home Pong, Atari releases the VCS, and with it came a lot of titles such as Asteroids, Lunar Lander, Breakout, and Football. Atari also started the process of selling home versions of arcade hits with the release of Space Invaders. In the same year, Atari employees created Activision, which was the first third-party publisher. Namco also releases Pac-Man, which has become the most successful arcade game of all time. The next year, Nintendo releases Donkey Kong, which is the second to the Pac-Man arcade game business. In 1982, an MIT student created Miss Pac-Man, which is the biggest arcade game in American history. By the end of 1992, I entered an extreme state of depression. Everyone hated me, including my mentors and the public. But during this time of depression, I met a new mentor. His name is Nintendo. He played my depression and brought me back with the NES in 1986. Along with it came Super Mario Bros. And Legend of Zelda. When Nintendo cured me of my depression, a new competitor entered with the release of their Master System. This competitor is known for Sonic the Hedgehog. This competitor name is Sega. But Sega didn't recreate themselves as Sonic until 1991, so let me fill you in. Sega releases a Mega Drive console in Japan and Genesis in the United States. Nintendo took contingent in court over copyright infringement and releases the Game Boy. I'm about to lose Atari after the 7800 failed, and no, I forgot about Tetris that was released in 1986. After Sega recreates the mascot and dumped millions of dollars in advertising, they took over the American market by being better than Mario. Of course. Large companies like Nintendo and Sega started releasing yearly iterations of the most popular hits like Mario, Madden, Legend of Zelda, and Donkey Kong, while Atari is dying in its little corner. Atari does try to come back with the 64-bit Jaguar, but failed miserably due to lack of titles. In 1993, Doom was released and caused a Senate hearing because the public claimed that it was causing kids to be violent, and as a result, introduced a mandatory rating system to protect kids from adult material. In 1995, Sony entered the market with the PlayStation. The PlayStation was designed with the living room in mind and took care of all the living room duties. This is what allowed it to succeed in such a crowded market. Sega also releases Saturn, which failed miserably and considered by many the worst console of all time. Nintendo then responded with the N64. In 1998, Nintendo created a whole new industry with Pokemon. The Pokemon industry by 2001 was worth $1 billion. It started a craze throughout the world, and that continued to 2016 with Pokemon Go. By 2001, only Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo remained within the console market. Today, we have multiple industries that have emerged from video games. Esports is a thing with the rise of Counter-Strike and League of Legends, but it's very boring now because of them Koreans. Twitch emerged and allowed people to make a living by playing video games to an audience, and YouTube created YouTube Gaming. Virtual reality became a new way to play video games with Phone VR, Oculus Rift, and HT5. Now, being more realistic, during my 56 years of life, I have gone from a name with $0 associated with it to $99.6 billion industry. My life was interesting enough to attract the attention of Stephen Kent. In 2001, he wrote a book called The Ultimate History of Video Games. The field of this book is history. Kent wrote this book to document how I took over the world one step at a time. He also wrote this book to inform how I have come to life and taken every gamer's time and soul. But Kent wrote this book with the bias towards consoles in the American market. In the book, he primarily discussed how arcade games shifted toward consoles, but it lacked on coverage of gaming on personal computers. During the 1990s, gaming on personal computers has become much more relevant and important, but Kent failed to point this out. He also focused solely on the American market and occasionally references to Japan here and there. We should have discussed the international market much more because if a company is entering the industry, they should be armed with the knowledge of the industry on a global scale. However, with this said, his books have great significance and credibility. He uses quotes from my mentors to support what actually happened. It was also the first book to reveal to the public the behind the scenes of my making. This book is considered by many a must read for people who are interested in video games and entering the market. When Kim was discussing the creation of Atari, he stated, "For years, Bushnell refused to believe that Bristol was such a risk for what amounted to little more than an elaborate ruse. Key Games, as it turned out, was created by Atari, and Bushnell and Alcorn sat as its board of directors. Rather than change a real rivalry with an established amusement manufacturer, Bushnell had created an all-controlled competitor. Kent used this piece of history to reveal the devious plan of Atari and how they manipulated media to think that there were two competing companies with bitter hatred for each other, but turned out to be the same company. Kent uses an informal conversational tone throughout the book by using words like can't, couldn't, and don't, and language that we use on a daily basis." Well, that's my life so far. If you don't mind, I'm going to get back to work now.